I'm Jesse McCarthy. I do history here. I also work projectors and so forth. And let's see what we have. Well, let's go back. Okay, so how many of you know this quote? Those who don't know history are destined to repeat it, or have heard it. Okay. So as we go along here, this is still debatable, this quote. But is this debatable? You know, if you knew that the stove would burn you, are you going to have to touch the stove? Probably not, but the kids do it. So the point here in history, the overarching point is, just like the stove, if you knew the stove would burn you beforehand, you're not going to touch it. We have all of these centuries past that we can learn from for our future. Okay, that's the overarching goal of history. There's a lot on the website, and I'd love if you have questions about the overarching goal of history, but that's not what we're going to be talking about here. That's not the primary motivator for a fifth grader. You know, he's not thinking about that. Okay, what are fifth graders thinking about? You know, video games, maybe. You know, candy, sleepover. So what we do is I'm not going to motivate them by saying, this is going to help you when you're 30. Because they're just not going to care. And I've tried it before when I first started, and it didn't work so well. So we've learned. So what the motivator is going to be is that history is actually fun. It's fun to learn. I know it might sound crazy to some of you who recall history in school, but it's fun to learn. And what I have here is, this is a fifth grade test. A lot of content. This is 8 pages long, okay? There is no multiple choice throughout, okay? Fill in the blanks, short responses, or paragraphs, okay? 8 pages. And this is a short test, okay? So our Rome test is 13 pages, okay? Now, this is names, dates, definitions. Boring, right? How many of you actually enjoyed history in school? Oh, that's great to hear. How many of you didn't? Okay, so a lot more hands on the other end. Okay, so here, the kids love to learn history. And just yesterday, this is actually the test that the kids turned in yesterday, so I'm really excited about it. I haven't graded this one. But just to tell you, a girl finishes her test, 8 pages, okay, 8 pages, it's a day and a half test. It's a long test. I'm sitting at the desk, and she comes up and she says, Mr. McCarthy, can you read the last few sentences of my paragraph? Like, well, why? Well, it's really powerful. Okay? And this is a 5th grade girl, okay? And I'm like, really, you know? Okay, so this was the question, and this is the kind of look of it. This is the paragraph response on the test. Okay, this is a 5th grader writing. Okay. In a brief paragraph, tell the essentialized story of Socrates and the end of his life. Okay, that's her goal. How many of you have heard of Socrates? Yeah. Okay. These kids know Socrates. Okay. This is her last line. How many of you know what happened to Socrates? Okay, so Socrates was put to death in Athens, in ancient Greece. Okay. Great civilization, but they made some mistakes, and this was one of them, okay? That day, this is her conclusion, this is the powerful stuff. That day of 399 BC, she knows the date, Athens, the world, lost a very special man, Socrates. Socrates accepted death for the fact that he had never committed a crime, but a crime was committed on Socrates. That's a 5th grader saying that. And I definitely never told her in that poetic of a way. She did it, okay? So, and she was excited to tell me that. Now, how many of you after a test, you're excited to talk more about the test? Not usually, right? So the question for tonight is, how do we accomplish this goal? So how do we get students to learn a lot of history? So we have samples online, check it out, a lot of content, and love doing it, And my answer tonight, one of the main things is going to be our motivation, as Lindsay mentioned, okay? The motivation is going to connect history to one's life today. So in history, it's these ancient people, 5th grader thinking about candy, sleepovers. He doesn't care about, some person in the Middle Ages doing farming, farming for his crops, and so he doesn't care until you connect it to his life. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into today. So let's hop in. So today, we're going to hop into a classroom, 6th grade classroom, Middle Ages, Fall of Rome to Middle Ages, okay? It's adopted for you, so if something says, you would say that to a kid? No, it's for you guys, okay? So it's adapted for you. And just remember this point. Connect history to one's life today as we go throughout, because that's what's going to be motivating this lesson, okay? Okay. No. That's how we're going to begin this one. How many of you like to hear no? Nobody? Come on. How many as a kid like to hear no? See, things haven't changed. Things haven't changed at all. Okay, so let's go through here. What is this? Now, this is, you're going to say, what is this now? So, possessions are things. Possessions are things. What this is, okay, how many of you have been to Anthropology? That's it? Anthropology, the store. Yeah, okay, now it's like, yeah. No, we're not in academics, so, you know, Spectrum we're talking about. Okay, so one day, I was walking around the Spectrum. We went into Anthropology with my mom. The family is here, too, because my mom is here as well, so it's very nice. We were walking around the Spectrum, Anthropology, my mom's shopping for some nice things. And you know, as guys, what you do if you're with your mom or your girlfriend or your wife, what do you do when your wife or your mom is shopping? What does the guy do? Takes a seat, right? So in Anthropology, I took a seat. And this is what I sat in. And I got to tell you, it was like, what am I in? This is amazing. I love this thing. I love this thing. And I wasn't quite clear, you know, they put chairs up, they put furniture. Is this thing for sale? Like, what is this? So I figured it was for sale because there was a tag on it. I looked at the tag, and I'm a teacher. This tag kind of blew me away a little bit. Okay? It said $2,000. $2,000. And this is leather. It's handmade. It's a beautiful, beautiful chair. Okay? Anyways, my mom comes back, you know. We go out walking. I told her, look at this chair, you know. We go out walking. Of course, I can't get this chair out of my mind. So I'm walking home, you know, and so forth. And weeks go by, and the chair's just popping up in random times. I might even be teaching. I'm thinking about the chair, you know. And so I started to do research on the chair. Did somebody else make it so I don't have to spend $2,000? I don't have $2,000. You know, I went through all of these things. About a month later, got some type of coupon that was at least 10% off of this thing, and I actually bought it. Okay, I actually bought it. I was really excited. This is one of my favorite possessions, okay? So here it is in my room. Okay? One of my favorite possessions. For probably about 6 months later, you know, it was only peanut butter and jelly eating because of this chair, but it was worth it. It was worth it. So what I want to do is possessions are things. I want to take maybe about 20 seconds, think of something that matters to you, like this chair matters to me. Okay, so get something in your mind, in your life, a thing. It has to be a thing. It has to be a thing. Okay. Does anybody want to share? I love this. If you guys in the classroom, there's not a hand that is down. Kids love to share things. Does anybody want to share their thing? Anybody? Am I going to have to start calling out people? Okay.
My engagement ring.
Engagement ring. Okay, how many maybe were thinking about their engagement ring? So, okay, well, there we go. So engagement ring. Pretty important. Anybody else? Yep, go for it.
Car, computer.
Car or computer. I love how the people in the front are the ones raising their hands. Car or computer. How many of it's a car or computer? You have a Mac, right? No? Oh, okay. Car or computer. And yourself?
The plant my daughter just gave me for Valentine's.
Okay. Plant daughter gave you. And you can see the emotional value in some of these, okay? Now, what I want you to do is have whatever you have in your mind right now. And I want you to think of it. Gone. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, okay? And you know, in class, kids have video games. They're thinking of the things in their life, you know, play balls and so forth. Gone forever. Forever, forever, forever out of your life, okay? Forever. Forever, okay? And not because somebody came in your house and stole it, but because you chose to get it out of your life forever. You chose to say goodbye to that thing that meant the most to you in your life, or one of the things that meant the most to you. So no possessions or things in your life, okay? So just have that in mind. That's one no. We're going to go through 4 no's, okay? Sleep. I don't know this girl. I just took it from the internet, okay? But, so, sleep. How many of you like sleep? Yeah, there are the hands, okay? I love sleep. I need a little bit of sleep right now, actually. I like this picture, too. It's kind of cute, right? Okay, so sleep. We've all been woken up in the early morning. You got a flight or some alarm goes off. You set it incorrectly or some parent's waking you up or your wife, your husband, and so forth. Not fun. Not fun, okay? Sleep is a joy. It's a joy part of life. You know the kind of sleep I like the most is when you really worked hard throughout the day and you get home, maybe you eat dinner, talk to your friends, talk to your loved ones or so forth, and then when you go to sleep, you know that was a good day. You know that feeling? It's just like, I'm enjoying myself. Well, I want you to think of taking that away. Now, not sleep completely, because you wouldn't be able to live, okay? But denying yourself the pleasure of sleep. So sleep a minimum amount of time, minimal, just as little as possible, okay? So get that in your mind. So we're going to take that away. No sleep, okay? That's 2 no's. Food. Okay. Ice cream. I love ice cream. All right. And I found this picture. I thought this was kind of cute, these 2 little kids. Food. In your mind, is there something, when I did this before, I had Ruth's Chris steak. How many of you had Ruth's Chris steak? I love that steak. I love it. Okay. I also love ice cream. Take about 15 seconds. Think about your favorite food. It could be a dessert, be a regular meal type food. What is it? And get it in your mind. See it right there in front of you. Like you're about to eat that thing. Right? Yeah? Okay, so what is it? Again, I'm telling you, kids love to share stuff. What is it?
French fries.
French fries. How many French fries? Yeah, French. I just had some today. Yes. Yes? Chocolate. Chocolate? Oh, what do you got? See the girls here. Bazooki. How many of you know what bazooki is? The one girl. Yeah, the one child. I know what bazooki is, though. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Okay. Anybody else want to share something? No? You don't like to share? There you go. Pasta. Okay. Now, picture your favorite food. Favorite food. And you choose never to eat it again. Never, ever, ever in your life. Okay? Now, it's hard to imagine what that would be like. But you deny it. You say, I'm not going to do this. Now, the first time I ever did this lecture in class, this one kid, Oreos was his thing. Mm-hmm. And you could see it. It's like, oh, I love those Oreos. and it's funny, he's in 8th grade now, and every day in his bag is still Oreos. And it's so awesome. But when I said no, the look on his face, I mean, at that age, like, losing that is significant, right? So he couldn't fathom what that would be like. And not only had somebody just said, your mom says, you're eating too many Oreos, you're getting a little bit heavy. But no, you choose it. And not for weight, by the way, but you choose it. So no food. Okay, this last one, so there's 4 no's, this is the 4th. Wife or husband. I'm not going to show you a picture. I'm not going to have you contemplate this one. For me, this would be a pretty significant and meaningful thing to give up for the rest of your life. With a 6th grade class, I don't focus on this. They're not yet there, so it ends up being a little bit awkward, so I just kind of skim it. But here, I imagine those of you that have somebody you love dearly, just imagine gone. And you say, never again. I'm not going to have this person in my life ever, ever, ever again. So you say no, okay? So we've got 4 no's. 4 no's, okay? Does anyone know what type of person I'm describing that would deny themselves these 4 things? A monk. A monk, yeah. And how would you describe a monk when he gives up these pleasures? What's that word? Does anybody know? What is it? Sacrificing, yeah. Anybody want to say the word? Because it's describing this person or this type of person that you deny yourself pleasures. What is it? Ascetic. Ascetic. Now, none of the kids would know this in 6th grade, okay? But after this whole thing that I talk with the kids, they have no clue what's going on, just as I think you guys didn't have it. What is it? What is this connected to? Then, ascetic. Ascetic. And this is a definition of an ascetic. A person who denies himself worldly pleasures. Now, if you were in a normal history class, you might have gone through the Middle Ages, and they would say, ascetic, a person who denies himself worldly pleasures. There might have been A, B, C, D. Does this match up here? This is just a definition. But now this definition, after this talk with the kids, they never, ever, ever forget this. Never forget it, okay? And then after this, I go into a whole, this 10 minutes would last me 2 weeks because the kids are so excited, they're so pumped. Anybody know the burning question that is on all the kids' mind at this point? Remember, this person, this ascetic, which they have no, what does this even mean? Denying himself all those things, he chose it? What's the burning question? Yeah, why? Yeah, why? So the burning question is why, okay? I'm not going to get into the why here, okay? That's where I leave the class. That's where the class ends. And now you can imagine kids going home. Usually it's like, can't wait to leave school. Now he's like, I can't wait to get there tomorrow. Why? Why? So he's excited to come back, okay? It's really, really exciting stuff. So again, this all goes back to the motivation. There's a few different motivators that we use throughout LePort schools and definitely in history. But this one in particular, connecting history to one's life today. And we do this in many of our classes. But in history in particular, because the rest of this stuff, it's boring, it's old, unless you tie it to the students' lives. And what's really important, what's underlying all this, is that every single student in our class, in our school, matters. Every individual life. So the fact that my thing was that chair and ice cream, that's my thing. My life matters. But pasta, French fries, it's your life that matters. And what we do is we tie that to history, and the kids love it. And that's how we can get away with giving them 8, 13-page tests, and they're smiling. That's how we do it, okay? I think that's it. Thank you, guys.